Yo, what's good, my people? You're back with me again, and today we're going into the power of CSS selectors. Now, you ever wonder how you could pick out specific parts of your website to style, make it pop, and give it that unique vibe? Well, that's exactly what selectors are for, and we're about to break it down from the basics to some tricks you can use to style up your site like a pro. And just a quick one for those who don't know, I'm a self-taught web developer, been in the game for 3 years, and I didn't take the typical route. No computer science degree, no coding bootcamp, and no degree at all. Just a lot of grind, a lot of code, and here I am. So if you're thinking you need a degree to master this and get into the industry, trust me, you don't. Now let's go. All right, so let's start with what a selector actually is. Now in CSS, a selector is the first step in your styling rules. It's basically a way of telling the browser, yo, this is the part of the page I want you to style up. Now, imagine you've got some HTML, like we've got this H1 tag that has the text CSS selectors there, and you can see it here in the page. Now, in the styles, when you use H1 selector to style, it's essentially telling the browser, I want this rule to apply to all H1 elements on the page. So the browser knows exactly what to pick out and style. So let's just change this color to, let's just do red for now. And as you can see, the H1 has changed to red. Now you might have seen different types of selectors already, like targeting a specific element. So we could say like a paragraph, or we could use something called a class. Like if I was to add the class of special, and let me change that to the color green. Now if I was to add the class of special here, if we save that, we can see that the H1 has been styled with the color green, even though we've got this H1 selector here. As a class has more specificity compared to an element selector. Most of these selectors you're using day to day have solid browser support, thanks to something called the CSS Selectors specification. So let's just remove this paragraph tag just here, and let's say if they were both the H1 selector and the class of special was using the color red. Now there's a cleaner way to do this. If you have two selectors that are using the same attribute, instead what we could do, instead of having it separate like this, we can just add a comma here and add dot special. So then we could just remove this here. So essentially what it's doing, it's for H1 and the class of special, it's using this attribute or this declaration, so that the property and the attribute. Now this way, both your H1 tags and anything with the special class get styled with the same rule. You could even add some space between the commas or have it like how we've done here within a separate line. It kind of makes it easier to read. Now a quick tip is to be careful with invalid selectors. Now if any of the selectors in the list is wrong, the whole rule gets ignored. So if you accidentally put something like an extra full stop here, so it's got, two full stops instead of one, the whole CSS rule won't apply to anything. So if we save this here, we can see that H1 is not red. All right, so when it comes to CSS selectors, there's a few main groups you'll want to know about. Each one has got its own purpose, so knowing which type to use can really help you nail down exactly what you're trying to style. So let's try to break it down. First up, we've got the basic ones: type, class, and ID selectors. Now a type selector targets an HTML by its name, so similar to how we've used the H1. So let's just do that here again so you can see. So you've got the H1 with the square, with the brackets, and your style sort of goes here within the brackets. Yeah, now we could use a class selector. So you put a full stop and then let's say box. Then with the brackets, let's just put the same comment in there. Now lastly, we have an ID selector. So to do this, we need to use the hashtag, and let's just put unique, and same, your style will go within there. So we've got, we can target with the type of element it is, with the class it is, and with the ID that it has. And to add an ID to the HTML, so let's put the color goes to red. Actually, let's change it up to blue. Okay, and let's add the ID of unique to something like, let's add it to this span here. So you add ID equals and unique. Bit hard to spot, but as you can see right here, the P has a color of blue. Then we can have attribute selectors. So with attribute selectors, they help you style elements based on a certain attribute that you've got. So if you want to target links with a title attribute, you do this. You'd use A to target all anchor elements, and then put the square brackets and put title. And yeah, your style goes here. So anything, so any link or anchor tag with an attribute of title will be affected with the styles that go in here. Now you could even go a step further, and let's just put it here. So you could even use an anchor tag that has a specific href, so a specific attribute value. So you could put href equals, yeah, let's just put google.com. And the styles within here will only affect any links that have the href value of, you know, https:/google.com. Now, next up are pseudo classes and pseudo elements. So pseudo classes style an element based on its state. So like when you hover over a link. So let's just do that here. So let's do A for all links and put a colon and then hover. And let's change it to, we could do aqua. Now let's actually see, so we don't actually have any links within the HTML, so let's add one here. Let's just put, yeah, this is a link. Okay, so let's change this to color is green. So as you can see here, it's being targeted by a link with the href of google.com, which we have in the HTML here. However, whenever we hover, it will change to aqua. So let's just test that out. If we hover over it, as you can see, the color of the text is changing. So pseudo elements, on the other hand, let you style parts of an element, like just the first line of text in a paragraph. So let's do, if we do P, so you can see it's showing up first letter, but let's put first line. Okay, and let's change this to, let's try purple. So you can see for every first line of the paragraph, the color purple is being applied. So last but not least, we've got combinators. Now they are used to combine selectors and target specific relationships between elements. Now, for example, if you want to style paragraphs that are direct children of an article. Now article is an actual HTML element. So same as using H1 to target an element. So you do that, then you do the sort of greater than sign, and we put the paragraph here. Each of these selector groups has its own unique cases. So once you know what you're aiming to style, you know exactly which selector to grab. All right, people, that's a wrap on CSS selectors. We've covered a lot today, from the basics like type, class, and ID selectors to more advanced stuff like attribute selectors, pseudo classes and pseudo elements, and combinators. Now you've got the toolkit to style your sites exactly how you want. Now remember, getting comfortable with selectors is all about practice. Now trying out different combinations, experiment with examples we've gone through, and see what works best for your projects. Now, the more you mess around with CSS, the more it's going to click. Now, if this was helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with all the web dev knowledge that I'm dropping on here. And as always, if you've got questions, throw them in the comments. Now, if you haven't watched my previous videos in the CSS series, have a look at this playlist right here, and I'll catch you on the next one. Stay coding, stay grinding, and keep leveling up. Peace.